What a game. West Virginia 31, Pitt 24 in overtime. The Mountaineers take the Brawl. We're going to talk about it this morning on BT. Welcome back in, everybody. It is another edition of Between the Ears. It is the morning after West Virginia takes down bitter rival Pitt 31 to 24 in overtime. Again, got some internet issues, so we're gonna just go audio only today. We'll be back with the full operation on Tuesday on Between the Ears, but still wanted to get this episode out, so we're gonna do this just audio only. So before we get started, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button here on our YouTube page. Add West Virginia on as Cy, and we greatly appreciate it. What a night it was for West Virginia, and there's so many storylines within this game that it's really kind of hard to cram it all in here to an 8 to 10 minute episode. So we're obviously going to be talking about this more throughout the week, but just a resilient effort by this team all the way around, all three phases of the game. Complementary football for the most part, which is something we haven't seen here in quite some time. And when this rivalry goes to into this next 3 to 4 year hiatus, it's definitely good to be on the winning end of it for sure. But the fact that you're able to find some answers on the offensive side, you found your quarterback with Nico, you found your running back in Ty Edwards, you have answers moving forward. So regardless of what the outcome was of this game, you had to feel much better about the rest of the 2025 season because coming into this one, if we're being honest, it was a very dark place. It felt like all that hype, that energy, the nostalgia from the early 2000s was all kind of washed away with that loss to Ohio. You had no offensive uh, production in that game last week. You lose your two of your best players in Jaheim White and Jaden Bray. You're trying to scramble, find answers, and you finally do. And that's really my biggest takeaway from this game outside of the overall toughness and grit that this team showed is they have pieces now. They found themselves, and it took a couple of games, but it's what happened last year with Rich when he was at Jack State. They went 0-3 to begin the season. Part of that was with the schedule. Part of that was just not showing up against Coastal Carolina. But they were able to find themselves by week 4. And from that point on, they went on an absolute tear. They won, what, 7 or 8 straight games. They ended up winning the conference championship because they found their guys. And that's what happened yesterday in the backyard brawl. Now, the question becomes the consistency part. Can Nico become a consistently good quarterback in this system? We haven't seen it yet. It's very early. It's only 3 games in. But now that he's kind of established himself as the guy, can he put together 4 full quarters of strong, clean football? We've seen the last 3 games. Rich has rotated in quarterbacks left and right. He had 3 in the game yesterday. That's probably not going to be the case moving forward unless things kind of revert back to the way they did in the first half against Pitt or in the entire game against Ohio where the offense just couldn't move. So now it's that next step for Nico. Okay, you've won the job. You've clearly shown that you're the best guy for the job. Now, how do you take that next step into showing that you can be a winning quarterback on this football team? So that's the thing for him. Um, with Ty Edwards, I mean, we knew that he was a load to bring down. He's 6'2", 230 plus pounds. He's just a load and didn't get a whole lot of carries in those first 2 weeks, just trying to get acclimated into the offense and get caught up in terms of knowing what to do and getting in game shape. There's just a lot of moving parts that goes into that. And obviously he has shown he is more than ready and more than capable of getting the job done. Over 130 yards, 3 touchdowns, really willed his way to many of those first downs or just a few extra yardage that he was trying to pick up. Just really ran hard. We haven't seen that really this season. Even in that first game, Jaheim White ran hard, but there was just a different level or pace to it than what Jaheim had. Obviously, he has the extra gear, but Ty was just blowing right through people, plowing through defenders, and it kind of made Pitt make a business decision. Do I want to tackle this guy or not? And more times than not, they didn't. wrap up with good technique. So that led to some extra yardage for him. And it seems like there's at least some semblance of a rushing attack there. Now the problem is, well, I wouldn't say problem, but the next question is who is that number two back? Clay Ash did a little bit yesterday, but I'm still not overly thrilled with where he's at running the ball. So maybe moving forward, it's going to be Sincere Bowers or Dior Hubbard. We've been talking about those guys for weeks. With the injury to Jaheim, it felt like they were going to get more opportunities. Rich even said that. Really didn't see that yesterday either. So those two guys are still hanging in the background, waiting for their opportunity. But at some point, one of those guys has got to step up and try and help this rushing game out. Now, defensively, flipping the script here, Zach Alley, as I said last night, he is worth every damn penny that West Virginia is paying him and then some. Yeah, they gave up 24 points. Yeah, they gave up, whatever, 300 some yards throwing. But, I mean, what else do you expect? They had short fields twice off the two interceptions that Scotty Fox threw. They shut them down, were able to limit them to field goals both times, got an interception. They almost had a fumble on the first drive of the game that they recovered that would have been at the 10-yard line. They were just playing fast, flocking to the ball, had hats everywhere, and the defensive front really got after it. I think Eli Holstein was under pressure probably way more than what anybody expected in this game. I would say going into this game, you felt pretty good about where that defensive front six was, but you still weren't quite sure what you had. Now, after what they did against this Pitt O line, I think you have a pretty good sense that this could be one of the strengths of the team is that front six. And they were able to get push not only on passing plays, but they were able to lock up and clog up the run holes. Desmond Reed was basically a non-factor in this game. I know he was banged up at one point, but if you were wearing a white jersey, odds are you were probably banged up at some point in this game with as many guys that hit the ground in this one. But just an overall really good game, well played. To see how they bounce back from last week's game is remarkable. Again, you could have counted this team down and out. They could have tucked, their tail between their legs when they're down 10 with just a handful of minutes left and said, "Oh, it's the same old thing, and here we go. We're about to fall to 1-2." But they played to the end of the snap, to the end of the whistle, every single play, found a way to get a couple of stops. Nico, when he had to absolutely have it, made some massive throws, some big clutch throws, gutsy decisions, and just made it all the way down in deep inside the pit territory twice. Obviously, the first time they got stuffed at the goal line, had to kick a field goal, but then they come back after they get the stop, get the touchdown pass to Grayson Barnes to send it to overtime. And at that point, it felt like everything was tilting in West Virginia's favor. And honestly, the decision to get the ball first Pitt decided to go on defense first, which is pretty much the norm in those situations. You want to see what your offense has to do in overtime, but it may have been not a bad decision to take the ball out of West Virginia's hand at that point. They had just led two scoring drives. They found some rhythm on that side of the ball, and they go right down and score pretty easily in the overtime period. And then the defense did their thing and swelled up and ended the game with a big stop, with the sack on third down and then the incompletion on fourth down. So just a massive, massive way to bounce back from that loss, disappointing as it was a week ago, to get back in the win column, hold those bragging rights for the next 4 years, but more importantly, in the present, you have answers now, and now you feel a lot better about where this team could be headed here into Big 12 play at 2-1. Kansas is up next Saturday at 6 o'clock is the kickoff time, and we've got plenty more coverage coming from the Backyard Brawl and also starting into that game at Kansas next week. So make sure you hit that like and subscribe button here on our YouTube page at West Virginia on SI. And we'll be back on Tuesday with another episode of BT.